जय हिंद दोस्तों, मैं हूं मेजर मोहम्मद अली शाह और मेरे को बड़ी खुशी हो रही है कि भाई मैं एक गुफ्तगू में हूंगा एक ऐसे जर्नलिस्ट के साथ, एक ऐसे कंजर्वेशनिस्ट के साथ जिनको जो केवल वही अनोखी हिंदुस्तानी है जिनको एक ग्रीन ऑस्कर मिला है फॉर हर इन्वायरमेंटल रिपोर्टिंग, फॉर हर जर्नलिज्म, फॉर एंड इनफैक्ट जितने भी इन्वायरमेंटलिस्ट हैं वो सब दे रियली स्वेयर बाय हर नेम इनफैक्ट. And she is someone who is very, very well renowned. In fact, she's in a family of wildlife filmmakers, in fact, and her father-in-law is an alumnus of FTII, a very, very and he has won a Padma Shri as well in the year 2015. And of course, and I'll not say her husband, I would say her husband is married to. I would not say she is married to. I'll say her husband is married to. Okay, and he is himself a very fine wildlife filmmaker. And I'll not say she happens to be Barkha Dutt's sister. Barkha Dutt happens to be Bahar Dutt's sister, in fact.
That's a
And
great
let
introduction.
let me straight away go ahead in further conversation with Bahar Dutt. In fact, her parents were renowned personalities as well, and in fact, she took on to journalism, being inspired by her mother. What I presume we'll find out more from her. In fact, what she has to say about it. Bahar, thank you very much for sparing time, Bahar.
So thank you, Major Mohammed Ali Shah, or should I call, as you say, your friends call you Ali, so I'm going to call you that. Ali, thank you so much for having me on the show. I must say, from broadcast journalism to just having a freewheeling chat is a really welcome break. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation on this cold, foggy morning in Delhi. Thank you for that introduction, but I have to say, I really I would say I really fell into this world of journalism by accident. It wasn't by design. Yes, my mother was a very famous journalist. I'm married into a family of filmmakers, but none of this was by design. I would say it's pure coincidence. I love animals. I love storytelling. And somehow I feel blessed that every day when I wake up in the morning, I, get the opportunity to do both. So that's really my story.
Wow. So tell me specifically about environmental journalism, and what made you take up the subject. And hello, that's Gucci. If I
That's my dog, Gutli. He's a rescued dog. He was in a very bad shape. Some wonderful animal lovers rescued him. So say hi, Gutli, to everybody and to Ali. uh, so,
hello, hello, Baba.
so
So
he's going to
sweet.
walk in and
He's
out
so
of the
loving and affectionate. Yeah. We have a dog and we have a cat at home. So just 2 days back, I was on live on a Hindi
Yes.
channel, and we were speaking about Israel and Hamas, and suddenly the cat jumped on me. So I started patting him rather. So Billy ko
Right.
hum her karte na. So I started patting him. And I'm like, I kissing him. Like, देखो ये मासूम बेगुनाह भी कह रहा है कि मासूमों का सिबलिंग्स का खात्मा नहीं होना चाहिए किसी भी कीमत पे. And I
बिल्कुल
incorporated
सही
that.
बिल्कुल सही बोला वाली. सॉरी, गुटली की वजह से हम लोग भूल गए कि क्या डिस्कस कर रहे हैं.
अरे नहीं. In fact, you have before you turn into a journalist, you spend a lot of time, about 7 years, if I'm not mistaken, with snake charmers and
Yes.
around. And so, would like to hear about that as well before you turned on to journalism. And
Yeah.
how was the experience working with snake charmers? In fact, not working with them, rather, I would say,
Yeah.
observing them and coming up with the fact that it's cruel to animals. In fact, the snake charmers, it's illegal what they do.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I think there are two sides to a story. Firstly, thank you for reminding me for that part of my life, because everybody just remembers me as a journalist. But I really started with I would say, a boot camp for life. In the sense that I didn't work with the snake charmers, I also lived with them. So I traveled to many villages across Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and in fact Delhi, just on the border. Delhi के border पे एक मोरबंद गांव है जहाँ 100 सपेरे रहते हैं. तो मेरी कहानी वहीं से शुरू हुई. That's where I started going there as a young person, wanting to change the world. And I always say that I wanted to be the Mother Teresa of the animal world. So I thought, everybody's talking about snake charmers, but nobody talks about their livelihoods. हाँ ये illegal है. There was also that, they're cruel to the snakes, but nobody was talking about their traditional knowledge, their knowledge of snakes, their microhabitats, their ability to catch the snakes. So everybody had kind of villainized this community. तो मैं पहले तो गई कि अच्छा इनको बदलना है. And then, when you start spending time with them, I spent years and years just learning about their ethnobotanical knowledge, their knowledge of plants, the fact that they used to go out from community to community, village to village, not just with snakes, but a suitcase full of small herbal medicines which they used to sell. So all these little facets about the snake charmers, we had kind of forgotten. So हाँ वो सांप पकड़ते हैं, that is true, और वाइल्ड लाइफ प्रोटेक्शन एक्ट के अंदर दिस इज ऑल इलीगल. बट क्या हो रहा था, पुलिस उनको पकड़ लेती थी, सांप छीन लेती थी, और वो फिर वापस जाके दूसरा सांप पकड़ लेते थे. So I said, let's try and find solutions. And so I worked with them.
Wildlife Protection Act came in place in 1972, if I'm not mistaken, or which year was that?
You're right. You're right. 1972. Now imagine 20, 30 years later, we still don't have anything in place for these communities. There's, thousands of them spread across our country. So I started working with the Jogi Nath Saperas, is what they're called. And I really wanted to look at solutions. And the solutions we came up with was, we found a band called 100 Charmers. Unki jo bean thi, unka jo music tha, we documented that. They performed. So they've performed in festivals, the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. They've been to Italy. They've performed across the world. Then we went further. We helped them access loans to set up small shops. So then what we did was, we also started talking to the then government, Delhi government, and also talking about kisi ke ghar mein saap nikal aaye. So you dial a sapera, you dial a snake charmer who will come and retrieve the snake, release it back in the wild, not keep it, release it back in the wild, and they get a fee for, in return. So these were it was a very small project. I was just an individual, but I think it laid the foundation for what I wanted to do in life, which was, yes, tell a story, but tell a story of people and animals and wildlife and trees who don't have a voice.
Wow, that is so cool. That is so cool. And हमारे घर में ये खास तौर से, when a cat and a dog, they coexist together. इससे बेहतर क्या example होगा कहीं पे भी? And they are friends.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely right. So just to continue then my story, ये सब तो मैं कर रही थी. But in the meantime, what was happening was, in the media, I felt nobody was talking about the sellout of our forests, the violation of our environmental laws. Environment journalism was still about, there's this cute tiger cub born in the zoo. And, look at that elephant calf, how cute. So it was still in that domain. And I wanted to move it to the political domain. I wanted it to run in primetime news. Because I not just I want to be famous and it should be in primetime news, but I went abroad. I studied conservation biology. So I'm one of the few journalists. I went to Kent, Canterbury, and I'm one of the few journalists who actually got trained in a subject. So,
correct.
Huge confession, Ali, on your show, I haven't studied journalism. What I have studied is wildlife conservation, and nobody knows this.
That's fine.
Yeah, so it's interesting that I think storytelling was just my passion, and I wanted to get trained in my subject. So I went and got trained in the science, the politics of conservation biology at Canterbury, University of Kent. And then I came back, and at that time CNN News 18 was being set up by Rajdeep.
And IBN था उस time पे.
CNN IBN बोलते थे, बिल्कुल. So Network 18, it was part of the Network 18 group. And that's where my journey into journalism started. In a few years, I'd become environment editor. 100 से ऊपर stories कर चुके हैं, politicians को question कर चुके हैं, गंगा नदी को follow किया है 6 महीने गंगोत्री ग्लेशियर तक ट्रैक करके, then following the journey of the river when it empties into the Bay of Bengal, looking at what's happening to our most sacred river. I've done that as well. I've gone up to the Arctic to report on the story of climate change. And I have reported on some of our biggest environmental stories. At that time, Ali, when I started, दो या तीन journalists थे जो कर रहे थे. I'm happy to report, and I say happy because I think it's really good that this field has opened up and there are a lot many more people now.
Right. I remember एक सीरीज आती थी टीवी पे प्रोजेक्ट टाइगर. नसीर साहब used to host that, and I used to follow it very keenly, very keenly. Project Tiger
Yes,
को. Yeah.
yes, yes. Ali, there were many such shows, but I emphasize again, my problem with shows is good, documentaries is good. I also love watching a BBC or a natural. वो हमारे देश में जो human element है उसको हटा देते हैं. But the story actually is कि ये human elements, the political turf wars over land, over जंगल जमीन का जो आंदोलन है, ये stories नहीं आती हैं. We don't talk about how quietly a contractor lobby is siphoning off the forest for his or her benefit. These are the stories I think we need to tell, and we need to confront our politicians more, about environmental issues. That's not happening enough.
Correct. So, Bahar, after spending time with the snake charmers, and then उसके बाद फिर, and of course you had studied wildlife. In fact, अब journalism में कैसे उतरी हैं आप? Because your sister had studied journalism from Jamia Millia Islamia, the MCRC, which is one of the best in the country. I would say the best in Asia, in fact. So,
Yeah.
didn't you think of going to MCRC to Jamia? I had not got through Jamia, by the way. I had given the entrance test for Jamia, but I had failed miserably in that.
And
So
yet
did you
you're
think
here hosting a platform, so that proves that point that you don't always need a journalism degree. But yes, please continue.
Yeah, that's true. Now, there are
Yeah.
two things. One is, supposing I speak French, and I know to speak French. Others, I do a course in speaking French.
Yes.
अब सर्टिफिकेट भी मिल गया मेरे को. अब मैं पेरिस पहुंचता हूँ और मेरे को फ्रेंच बोलनी नहीं आती एक्चुअली. मगर सर्टिफिकेट जरूर है बैग के अंदर. मेरे बैग निकालूंगा. I speak French. I got A grade. क्या करूंगा मैं? Whereas I don't have a certificate. I say bonjour, comment allez-vous, and I find a way about. So what you said is very true. But it only enhances that. That's a different thing.
Yes.
So, आप journalism में कैसे उतरी हैं आप? And when the first feeling of being known as Bahar, that the journalist, तो thinking क्या था? मैं कोई journalism में कोर्स नहीं किया, मगर मैं journalist हूँ. अच्छा, journalist भी हूँ.
नहीं,
How was that?
बिल्कुल. In fact, I did not join journalism because of my family background. I did not want it to be another nepotistic sort of career. कि, अच्छा, her sister was in journalism, her sister's in journalism, her mother was in journalism. In fact, I think I always wanted to do storytelling. So even before I turned to journalism, my first article in the Hindustan Times came out at the age of 16. So I was writing all along. I was writing stories, I was writing opinion pieces, I was doing that already. I had written a few chapters in a couple of books as well. So all that was happening. It was only a decision of, should I make this my full-time career alongside. So even during my journalism days, incidentally, I carried on with the Snake Charmer project. So people would find it very strange that you're doing this full-time broadcast journalism and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you're running off to these villages to continue a project which I had started, because I didn't want to just abandon the community and think, अच्छा, अब वो TV पे आ रही है तो हमारे बारे में भूल गई. I wanted to see it till its logical end, which was that the 100 families I was working with, were self-sufficient. So that was very important, that transition. Coming back to when did the feeling hit me? It hit me during my first story, where I had gone to interview Mulayam Singh Yadav. And he said to me, at the camera was rolling and I'm holding the mic in my hand, and CNN IBN had just been set up. I'm talking about 2005. So I say to him, कि आप क्या कर रहे हैं ये Saras crane के लिए? He was trying to set up an airport on the habitat of the Saras crane, and he looked so shocked that somebody could ask him such a question in his own village in Sefai. So he said, किसकी भेजी हुई है ये? आपको तो नहीं, किसी और ने भेजा है. So he thought I was a plant of the opposition, or because nobody had dared question him, and the audacity to question him about Saras cranes. So this is where I feel that we don't confront politicians about such issues enough, and that's when it hit me. Okay, I'm a journalist now. I haven't come to study the Saras cranes. I haven't come to interview the community for a project. I'm now a full-time journalist. We went back. I called Rajdeep. I said, I have a story, but I'm not going to give this story to you if you run it in the afternoon news. That time, prime time news में reporting stories चलती थी. Debate होता था, but not the way it is now. We ran that
Now,
story.
now most of them are yelling and shouting matches. कि
Exactly.
कौन, so it's
Yes.
not brain power anymore. Somewhere it's lung power.
Power.
कौन दारू चलाएगा?
Yeah. Yeah. So we ran that story, and it was the opposition took it up in the assembly. Mulayam Singh Yadav later set aside funds for the Saras crane. The expansion was stopped. So we had an impact, and that said to me that okay, journalism and telling stories about the environment, you can influence policy, you can make people wake up. And I don't think it's limited to awareness, but it's also about telling those in power that you can't get away with this. Yesterday, Ali, I give you the example, 100 flights couldn't land in Delhi. और हम कहते हैं कि नहीं नहीं हमें एयरपोर्ट भी चाहिए और हमें वी नीड ऑल दिस बिग इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर. Yes, I'm not saying we're against it, but the scale at which we're doing it, and the fact that why I'm talking about this is flights could not land because of smog in Delhi. So think of the financial losses, the inconvenience, the stress to people. So I do feel we have to look at our environmental problems. ये नहीं कि डेवलपमेंट पहले एनवायरमेंट बाद में, वो नहीं चलेगा. So
Also,
I do.
in the broader perspective, वैसे jahaz, the flight, the aircrafts aren't good for the environment in the broader perspective, and also the
Yes,
ACs
I
and
yeah,
the
I mean,
venom that we wear.
yes, I think you're right. You're raising a point of, should people be flying as much as they should? So yes, I think those are issues and they're complicated issues. I do fly. I'm sure you also take a flight.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
we all
of course,
take
we all
flights.
do.
But I'm just saying, I'm not saying हम roads ना बनाएं, हम infrastructure ना बनाएं, but are we designing our cities, for instance? Are we designing them for cars or are we designing them for clean air? तो ऐसे सवाल मेरे ख्याल से पूछना जरूरी है. पंजाब के
Correct.
फार्मर को ब्लेम करना आसान है कि वो पराली जला रहे हैं, but what about our own mess? There was no parali yesterday. It's all construction. So I think I'm sorry, I'm going into a slightly more
No, no,
morbid
perfectly
place.
fine. Perfectly
But
fine.
I do feel that our model of development needs a relook, and perhaps this is outside the realm of this chat. It was meant to be a freewheeling chat, so I'll stop here.
Absolutely, absolutely. मैं एक चीज और बताता हूँ on this note, because when you were smiling ना, it was reminding me of your sister, and my first interaction with him was way back actually in the year 2001, I think. Yeah, 2001, when she was hosting We the People on NDTV. So they needed crowd कि भाई stadium के so
Yeah.
हमें भी contact किया NDTV से. So we all went there and we're like, wow, we're starstruck. Barkha Dutt will be there. Wow. तो अच्छा, now just to make my presence felt, ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई genuine question था कि भी question पूछना है. क्यों कि
अच्छा,
भाई एक वहां पे आए हैं तो एक मौका भी मिलना चाहिए, and Barkha Dutt should come with a mic. तो कोई some silly question I must have asked. I don't even remember that. That was and then I, almost a decade later, 2012, Barkha interviewed me for an hour live on NDTV on some issue. वो अलग बात है, मैं आपको बताऊंगा बाद में. And so I had butterflies in my stomach. I was like, अच्छा live? No, can't we do it? Recording, please. Live नहीं करना, ये नहीं देखो. आदत नहीं थी. And now, so similarly, when he said, no, I did not know we were going live. I said, अरे, अब मेरे को आदत बन गई है लाइव करने की.
बिल्कुल.
ये बात.
So live television is fun. It's the most
Fun.
fun. The
It's
most
fun.
fun thing.
And particularly, I'm from a hardcore theater background.
Right,
Hardcore. And
right.
hardcore theater family as well. So हम लोग स्टेज पे जब होते हैं, and the rush we get seeing
Yes.
the audience response,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
वो अलग ही होता है.
bilkul.
So tell me about wildlife, and about environment. In fact,
Yes.
I have spent a lot of time in the northeast part of India because my
Yes.
father also was in the army, and
Yeah.
I've had multiple postings there in fact in northeast part of India. I started my schooling from Arunachal Pradesh from
Oh,
class.
so
Yeah,
lucky. Yeah.
yeah, and उसके बाद Nagaland, Manipur, वहाँ के tribal dialects भी मैं बोलता हूँ, by the way. I speak them
Yeah.
fluently. हाँ.
Fantastic. Wow.
So I would like to know in particular your experience in the what extreme have you been towards the northeast part of India and your experience over there? Wow.
Northeast, I've just come back. I We were in the Northeast looking at gibbons in Assam, and this is the beauty of our country. Gibbons, incidentally, is the only ape species that India has. So gibbons are like these black furry sort of monkeys with long legs,
Yeah, yeah.
and
मैंने गिबल्स देखे हैं, मैंने त्रिपुरा में देखे हैं in a
Haji,
place called Sipahisala.
yeah,
Sipahisala is very
I've been
close
to
to Udaipur.
Sipahisala.
वहाँ पे
Yeah,
वहाँ पे
yeah, yeah.
spectacular monkeys भी होते हैं वहाँ पे.
हाँ जी,
हाँ.
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल. So I was in this village where the village looks after the gibbons, and the village biodiversity, the trees in the village are greener than the forest. So the gibbons stay around there, and the community protects them. And I'm saying that I'm not trying to sort of romanticize communities, but it was just such a lovely feeling to be in this village surrounded by just 100 tree species in somebody's backyard and a pair of gibbons and their baby. And my mornings were spent just following them, getting shots on the camera. And then we went to Arunachal. In Arunachal, we saw this tiny little bird which is named after the Bugun community, the tribal community there. It's a bird which was discovered only recently. And now they're trying to set up a tourism model, for them. So this is in a place called Eagle Nest Sanctuary. You probably know about
Yeah,
it
yeah.
because there's a huge army presence there as well, and so there's a lot of history to that place because the Dalai Lama actually walked through that road, when he came from Tibet into China, and there was a war fought there as well. So these have been my experiences. Then in Kargil, I have to tell you, everybody talks about Kargil, the Kargil war, but I was in Kargil and I had the most splendid sighting of the brown bear, the Himalayan brown bear. This is
Wow.
in Dras and Kargil. And I didn't have to spend a lot of time. They were there on the mountain tops and you could see them. So I just feel so blessed to, have been able to see these wild animals and to just even for a fleeting second to catch a glimpse of a
And
wild.
how far away were you from the bear?
So the bear was far. You can't get close to it. It's a wild animal, and I would not encourage anybody to get close to a bear or
Yeah.
try and feed it. It was on a mountain top, so I would say at least 100 feet away,
Okay.
200 feet, if nothing less. So it was far, but it was a mother with two cubs, and the cubs were riding on her back. And then they came down, and it was a sunny day. The sun opened up. It was cold. It was cold as hell. But the sun opened up, and then you could just see them frolicking down the mountainside like two children playing, in a playground. So, on a lighter side, of course, our wildlife is in trouble. There's lots of issues which one has to talk about. But it is such a joy to be able to be in a profession where I get to see these wild animals. And I actually started crying because I was, I felt so blessed to be able to see them.
Arey, wow. Wow. I'm so sorry. I'll go back to the previous way. I got a bit distracted while speaking. And my wildlife, मैं आपको कह रहा था कि about your sister. So, your smile is as pretty as your sister's smile, in fact. So, कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ that you, कभी Barkha would be busy, so you have proxied for her, or you have sort of proxied for her on Mojo, or she can and proxy for you. कभी ऐसा हुआ है क्या? You look
No, we
like
don't
twins.
look that alike. We don't look that alike. In fact, I was very particular. I hated being compared to my sister, even in school. तो मैं
Obviously.
लोगों को अपना last name भी नहीं बताती थी. So in fact, Ali, when I went looking for a job in television, I walked into, I will say, at least 3 news channels, just a cold call. And they all thought I was crazy because I didn't choose my last name. I just said, उनको बोलिए, editor को बोलिए, Bahar. Then they said, who? And I just wanted, nobody knew me at that time, incidentally. Nobody knew who Barkada's sister was, nothing. And it's when they sat down face to face and did the interview, they were like, but your sister's in NDTV, why don't you go there? And I was like, why should I go there? Why this entitlement? Ki, Acha, your sister is there. And I really started at the bottom. I went as a reporter.
You had your own journey, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and of course privileges are there because of school and whatever. Those privileges one cannot discount as being a middle class family. But I'm very conscious of that privilege, and I'm very careful about it. So getting back to have I ever gone on her show? No. She's asked me several times,
No,
come and
no, not
report.
on her show. Proxy
And
for her.
I know, I
Yeah,
can't.
yeah, yeah.
I don't have the knowledge she has of politics, so there's no way. And
Right.
honestly, I'm a very I keep to myself. If I go out into the world and I report, then I need 2 hours to just be by myself. So my sister's a far more outgoing people person than I am. So yeah, that's what it is.
आपने एक और बात की थी, आपने कहा था that sense of entitlement, that why don't you join any TV, जो लोग कहते थे आपको, या and your mother was a very famous renowned journalist and you didn't want to कि भाई वो कि पूरा खानदान है तो nepotism. हालांकि I have a different take on that.
Okay.
I see the term nepotism was coined in the mid 17th century from Italy per se. The
Right.
term nepoto in Italian means nephew. So
Ah,
because the
okay.
priests, bishops, popes, fathers who had sworn chastity that they would not get married. They had
Yeah.
sworn if they would not sworn, they would hand over their prized possession to their nephews because they were the next in
Hmm.
line. उसके संतान तो थे नहीं. अब
जी.
वहां से वो मिसयूज होने लग गया. अच्छा ठीक है, इसको
Ah.
यहाँ पे लगा लेते हैं, इसको वहां करें, फ्यू है इसको वहां कर देते हैं. तो वहां से नेपोटिज्म आया बेसिकली. And so if so I that's my personal take. If
Yeah.
Karan Johar is casting Alia Bhatt, I don't think it's nepotism. No, I don't think
Yeah.
it's nepotism. I think
Yeah.
Alia Bhatt is not his niece or his daughter or his
Yeah.
sister. वो
Yeah.
कर रहा है because
Yeah.
if Rajesh Roshan casts Hrithik Roshan in every movie, again I've not called it nepotism. I'll call it good business sense. He's giving him returns, so he has the right to do it. हाँ,
Yeah.
वो अलग बात
Yeah.
है. अगर आप position of power में है और unduly आपने किसी को favor किया
That's
just
true.
because वो आपका relative है, तो it
जी.
is nepotism, है ना?
I
मैं
agree.
आपको
Yes, I think you have a point. Sorry, please finish.
मैं
You were saying.
lastly आपको कहूँगा, just before I tried for Jamia in 2001, I tried for
Yeah.
Jamia. And
Yeah.
उससे पहले I tried for the National School of Drama, and
Acha.
I tried for NSD twice. And
Yes.
that time, my father's younger brother, he was on the board of NSD,
Acha.
and he was a guest, he was a visiting faculty at NSD as well. But
Right.
मेरा 2 बार दाखिला नहीं हुआ. The famous actor Pankaj Tripathi now, he and I, we are very old friends. So Pankaj got through the first attempt in 2001.
Yeah.
I had not got through. So he told me कोई बात नहीं
Acha.
अली भाई, आप दोबारा ट्राई करेगा, अगले साल आप आएंगे, आप जूनियर होंगे हमारे, हम आपकी खूब रैगिंग करेंगे. But I didn't
Acha.
get through. So तो उस उल्टा मैं क्या, मैं तो नेपोटिज्म इन रिवर्स का शिकार हुआ ना. इन अदर वर्ड्स,
No,
तो
true.
आपने जो कहा उसको आई विल नॉट कॉल इट नेपोटिज्म अगेन. इट्स आपकी खुद की काबिलियत है
No.
भाई.
I think what I'm talking about is privilege, and the privilege is
हाँ,
not just a surname. The privilege is also, our upbringing, our access to schools, English speaking. I'm very conscious, and where it comes from is, of course, my mother. I think in the values that she instilled in my sister and me, but also from having worked with the snake charmers, having seen what it means to be poor in this country. Being in communities where people don't have access, say, to a good school. Just to go to a good school, you need privilege. So I think I'm very conscious of that privilege and to not ever misuse it. And that was my sort of reticence to join journalism कि मुझे कोई मौका इसलिए नहीं मिलना चाहिए क्योंकि मेरी सिस्टर बरखा दत्त है. मुझे मौका मिलना चाहिए क्योंकि मैंने इस सब्जेक्ट को पढ़ा है, मैंने कम्युनिटीज में काम किया है. आई नो माई सब्जेक्ट, आई हैव द नॉलेज एंड आई एम पैशनेट अबाउट स्टोरी टेलिंग. इसीलिए मुझे कोई जॉब मिलना चाहिए. सो that is why I feel privilege should never be exploited.
True. Okay, choose one. Storyteller or a story shower?
Oh my God, what's a story shower? What does that mean?
Story shower would be, though I am just, pardon me for speaking for a minute more, because I
Yes.
don't want to speak much. I want Bahar to speak क्योंकि फिर बाहर आई तो बाहर वाकई में आई. so अगर मैं आपको बोलूं कि बाहर के दोपहर के 3 बज रहे थे, it was like, and we were playing tennis, you and I were playing tennis. It was, and we were both sweating. फिर हम घर आए, and we opened the fridge. There was a bottle of cold water with water. We could see the vapor outside the bottle, glass में डाला. फिर there was a yellow round shiny lemon. उसको निकाला वहां से. एंड एक छुरी रखी थी, शार्प एज छुरी, वेरी शार्प रेजर उसका था, लेजर क्या रेजर, हाँ,
हाँ.
उसको काटा. एंड देन वी टुक दैट लेमन एंड it was sour. So that I'm showing the story.
Yeah.
I'm making you feel it. I'm making you see that, visualize it. ये भाई
Yes.
लेमन है, वो
Yes.
आपको स्मेल भी आनी चाहिए, टेस्ट भी आना चाहिए, डिटेल भी आनी चाहिए. एंड स्टोरी
Good.
टेलर आपको कहानी बता रहा है, जैसे मैं अपने बच्चे को कहानी बताता हूँ रात को, वैसे.
Yeah. Yeah.
So स्टोरी
Well,
टेलर और
story
स्टोरी टेलर.
sure. I think story sure.
Absolutely.
I would say anything which helps you tell a good story. There's no formula, but yeah, story sure probably. Yes. With that description, yes.
Very true. Very, very true. And tell us a bit about Gutli as well. You know, Gutli is, if I'm not mistaken, is a rescued dog,
Yeah.
and really cute, adorable. उसने कैमरा में देख के मेरे को हाय बोला भाई.
भाई पहले
अरे
गुठली को
भाई,
देखना
so
था.
sweet.
Okay, he's feeling a bit. Ah, there he is. There he is.
अरे अरे,
So,
hello,
so Gutli had
hello.
no. Yeah, see.
Oh, look at it. Oh,
He's
it's
also,
so
there's
cute.
a mirror just behind. He's busy looking at himself. Anyway, so Gutli was actually, he had no hair. He was locked up in a farmhouse and his owners had forgotten about him. And some lovely, kind people, saw him there in that bad condition. They got him to an animal shelter. They treated him for 6 months and he got his hair back. Come on, show everybody. So, yeah, and that's how he came to us. We've always kept dogs. And I'd lost my previous dog, Musibat. So I think Gutli now fills an important space in the family, and it also ties in nicely with not buying pedigrees, and I think it's nice to go out and give a rescue dog a dog in an animal shelter a home.
Yeah. And losing a pet, I know the pain. It is like really pain. We have grown up with dogs all our life,
Yeah.
and you know, I'll tell you one thing. हमने एक गलती करी थी पिछले साल. I
जी.
told you we have a dog and we have a cat as well. They are friends, okay?
Yeah.
हमारे इस cat से पहले, इसका नाम Coco है. This is Coco 2. We had Coco 1 before this. Who was a calico cat.
अच्छा.
And Coco 1 की हमने गलती करी. हमने Casper से दोस्ती करी. Casper is a Labrador. So
Okay.
Casper and Coco are friends. So Coco stopped perceiving dogs to be a threat. So
Yeah, so
yeah,
Coco was very
ये हमने
confused
गलती
then.
करी. So Coco moved out of the gate once, and the stray dogs outside the colony, they mauled her. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it
that's
was
not
very,
nice.
very, it was very painful. Around the same time, January second week last year, and
Oh,
it was
yeah,
really painful, really very painful. हमने
yeah,
इसको फिर we rushed to the vet. She was on ventilator till evening, but
yeah,
by 8 p.m. the same day, I mean, she had gone.
yeah.
And
Oh,
what a lovely cat she was. Yeah. So ये
yeah,
एक
that's
गलती
nice.
हमने करी थी. But इस बार we have been careful कि भाई
Keep
Coco
it.
2 should not move
Yes,
out. Such thing.
yes, yes.
We are pet lovers big time. अच्छा, मैं आपसे एक अहम सवाल पूछता हूँ, which
पूछिए.
I've been wanting to know, and I want our viewers to know as well. You are the only environmental journalist in the country to have won the coveted Green Oscar. और
Yes.
ऑस्कर से हम क्या समझते हैं? ऑस्कर से हम समझते हैं Oscars, Will Smith went and slapped someone, and so Oscar is like the Academy Awards. So could you tell us a bit about your coveted Green Oscar which you were awarded with, Bar?
So thank you, Ali. You've done your research on me. That's obvious.
I
And yes,
I learned it. I've learned it from you and your sister, and of course your members in your family. I mean, they are very, very
yeah,
illustrious.
yeah, I think research is important, and you managed to dig out that tiny nugget of information. So I have no delusions of grandeur कि मुझे Oscar मिला है, but yes, Wild Screen Award, which is considered the Green Oscar in my community, बड़े बड़े लोग बीबीसी की जो कम से कम 100 करोड़ के बजट वाली जो फिल्म्स आती है, नेचुरल हिस्ट्री की, डेविड एटनब्रो, द बिग नेम्स इन डॉक्यूमेंट्री फिल्म मेकिंग, दे आर एट दिस, दे एंटर देयर फिल्म्स. And in 2005, मैंने जो मुलायम सिंह जी जो story की थी, there was a category or news category, and I sent my story in there. And that's when I got what is called as the Green Oscar or the Wild Screen Award. And yes, there are many Indian filmmakers, including Incidentally, my husband, who wasn't my husband then, who also got the award. Um, yes, there are filmmakers who have got it, but I was the only Indian journalist to have got it. Since then, of course, there are many other filmmakers. We've also had, the Elephant Whisperer, which has won
Oh
the
yeah.
Oscar, not just the Green Oscar. So, as I said, no delusions of grandeur. But yes, that award meant a lot to me because it was my first award and I got it for my first story in journalism.
Wow, that is commendable. That is really very, very
Yeah,
commendable,
so it
man.
means a lot to me. And
That's
thank you
really
for
good.
bringing out that nugget of information.
I think that is something really very important, and everyone must know of this. And we are very, very proud of you, Bahar, for
Thank you.
creating your own niche and having your own identity. And of course, and Bahar, that is like a household name, okay? And it is something,
That I'm
and
not too sure, but yes, I'm
it is.
happy to have, found my own path and tread on it. So,
Gee, absolutely. Bahar, it's been such a delight and a pleasure speaking to you. आपसे आपने मुझसे पूछा कि क्या ड्यूरेशन होगी, तो मैंने रैंडमली उसी टाइम स्पॉन्टेनियस जवाब दे दिया 18 मिनट। 18 मिनट इसलिए दिया क्योंकि 18 फिगर इन माइंड बिकॉज आई
जी,
एम एन इंटरनेशनल टेडेक्स स्पीकर। बल्कि आपको जानिए खुशी होगी कि दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा टेडेक्स टॉक्स मैंने दिए हैं, हिंदुस्तान के बाहर भी।
oh,
तो वो
wow,
फिगर, हाँ, 18 का फिगर एक ज़हन में
अच्छा.
रहता है, तो मैंने इसलिए आपको 18 मिनट कह दिया बिकॉज़ उस डर के मारे कि कहीं आप मना ना कर दें।
No, I've enjoyed this. I didn't even realize it's showing almost 37 minutes has passed.
That's double of what I had promised you.
It was fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Bharat. Thank you
Thank you
so much
very
for speaking to me. It's been such a wonderful, and there's a very dear friend of mine, Amit Kaur. In fact, she's an environmentalist, and she really promotes planting a tree and such things.
much.
And
Right.
I'll be sending this to Amit as well, and Amit rather, and she will be very happy. She's a very big fan of yours as well, by the way, Bharat.
This is such good. This is good stuff to hear and a good note to start the new year on. So thank you, Ali, for reaching out and for really pumping me up and saying this is going to be easy and you'll enjoy it. I have.
Thank you,
Thank
Bharat.
you.
Thank you. Take
Okay.
care. It was have a nice day.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
so much. Bye. Bye.
Yes.